And this is, we just covered TikTok, but TikTok is just a part of the problem. There are other cancers or other Chinese applications which more or less do the same thing. And well, I will just cover the mainstream apps which violate user information some way or the other. And we have used these applications at one point of time, or some of us are still using it. I believe Zender slash Sharit, these are applications we still use to share files. Now, guys, let's understand this. TikTok is a video making application, right? So it's an app which is used for making videos, and through that, China is able to gain some information. Whereas Zender and ShareIt are apps, media transfer apps, wherein you can transfer files and videos and pictures. So just imagine how much of data, how much of personal information firsthand China can get through these applications, right? So what are the alternatives? Instead of using Xender or ShareIt, you can use AirDroid. It's a free application available on Google Play Store. You can download it from Play Store. You can use it on your laptop. You can sync up your smartphone with your laptop, and you can transfer files from laptop to your smartphone directly. Then we have Hello or Like. Now, Hello, as you know, is also a very popular app. It's not as mainstream as TikTok, but it is used by a lot of people. It's sort of a social media app in itself, wherein you can post content and you have to use that app for a couple of days for gaining some money. And a lot of people use it for gaining money. And I have used it in the past as well. And this app also transfers your private information to China. Hello, Like, these are two apps where a lot of people use, and a lot of people are prey for China to exploit information. So instead of that, you can use Cheese or Funnymate. Then we have UC browser. A lot of people have stopped using it, but those who use Lenovo smartphones, UC browser is pre-installed, and a lot of people don't give a second thought before using this. China uses this to get your browsing history, get your cookies, and what you're surfing on the internet. So you can use the alternatives as Chrome, Opera, or Firefox. Now, Firefox is open source, so you can customize it the way you like. Opera is a freeware, and Chrome belongs to Google. Then there is the ES File Explorer, again a very popular app used by people who use as a file explorer. You can use AirDroid instead of that. And there's the Clean Master, a very gimmicky software which apparently makes your phone faster by cleaning apps, residues. Instead, of what it does is it fetches your private information and gives it to Beijing. And it's a very gimmicky software which cleans the background application, and it claims RAM, so to say, it's to speed up your phone. But I have never found it useful. And the last time I used it, it was way back in 2017, I guess. It slowed my phone a lot. So instead of this, you can use Google Files. It's a 5 MB application which does all that Clean Master does. It does not have those gimmicky features of cleaning RAM and cleaning background apps. Android gives you the option to do that yourself, but you can clean the files that are taking consuming a lot of space, files that are that you don't want to use, that are old and outdated. So you can clean those. Then we have Zoom meetings, another very popular app used by a lot of Indians. Now, Zoom is not necessarily a Chinese software, so to say, because it is not based out of China, but its servers are based in China. So anything that is remotely related to China is a devil in disguise, right? A lot of articles surfaced in the last couple of weeks and months, which made Zoom appear like an evil it is, because there is no end-to-end encryption in Zoom. So whatever discussions we have on Zoom, it gets exposed, it gets sold out to people, because anyone can swoop in and see what discussion is taking place. Plus, the user information is also not secure on Zoom. So you can use Google Meet. Google has recently made the Meet free for everyone. It was a premium application, but now it is free. You can use Flock, which is an Indian application, so to say, but Flock is not entirely stable. Our first discussion was held on Flock. Those who joined at first would be knowing it. We discontinued using Flock because it's not entirely stable, but we are in discussion with the customer expert person called Jay Saha, and he was having a talk with us that what their future prospect is like, and they are trying to upgrade that environment which will facilitate seamless connection. So the third one is WebEx, Cisco WebEx, the platform we are all connected in right now. It is by Cisco. It is very popular and it is very secure as well. PUBG Mobile, another very popular app, probably more popular than TikTok. I am really sorry if some of you still use PUBG to play video games. Sorry, some of you use PUBG to play games. I would request you to not use PUBG because it is powered by Tencent Mobile, and Tencent is a completely Chinese-based company which takes in the user information. So you connect to PUBG via Facebook. So all the information you have on Facebook goes to China directly. And the funny thing is, Chinese people don't use Facebook themselves. They have got Line and other Chinese-made social media applications, but your data goes to China if you play PUBG. So instead of that, you can play Fortnite, and there are other applications as well, other gaming applications which can do as good as PUBG does. So the goal of this discussion, talking about these applications, is to let people know that it's not just TikTok; it is other Chinese apps which have got the same share of market hold and are quite used in the mainstream. So instead of these, you can use these alternatives. I'll share the PPT with you once we're done with the presentation. Next up, we're going to discuss about removing the Chinese influx. And what better way to start the discussion than talking about the smartphone market? And it is no surprise to say that in India, 80% or 85% of the smartphone market is occupied by companies which are not really based out of India. And out of 80%, I'm going to need to use the notes for this. Just a second. Uh, Please bear with me because I need the notes for this, as I had mentioned how much market share do these companies have. All right. Okay. So as you can see, Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi, Realme, OnePlus, iQ, Double O, these are all Chinese smartphone brands which are very popular in India. And they are all the children or subsidiaries of this company called BBK Electronics. So even though these companies sell with their own brand name, but they all fall under these one particular father. ये सबका माई बाप है जो है BBK Electronics, and you would be surprised to see the amount of market share BBK Electronics has. So if you look at the 2019 fourth quarter market share, Xiaomi had 27%, Vivo had 21%, Oppo had 12%, and Realme had 8%. So in total, 68% occupied by these four Chinese smartphone companies, and their parent company is BBK Electronics. So we are not even counting OnePlus, iQ, Double O, and there is Huawei, which is another Chinese company. So only these four companies had a market share of 68% in 2019 in the fourth quarter share. So BBK Electronics had a market share of 68%. So you can imagine how much monopoly does China have in the smartphone market. And this is something which is the reason why Chinese influx is so huge in India, because the smartphone market is something from which these Chinese manufacturers earn a lot, and they get to employ a lot of people. So this is imperative for us to understand that as long as we keep using these smartphone makers, we are indirectly contributing to China, and we are indirectly contributing to this system where China has a total monopoly over one particular market sector. So let us talk about the alternatives. So instead of purchasing all these brands that I just listed, you can go for non-Chinese brands, and we are talking about local brands. We have got Micromax, we have got Intex, we have got Lava, we have got Videocon, we have got Zolo. However, from my personal standpoint, I won't recommend you guys to go for these brands because in 2014 I made my entire family purchase Micromax. My father, my mother, my grandmother, grandfather, myself, we all purchased Micromax in 2014. And in 2015, I discovered that Micromax is not an OEM. It does not originally manufacture the electronic equipments, the smartphone itself. So what Micromax does is They purchase smartphones, cheap smartphones from China, rebrand it in India and sell it to Indian customers. So when we are purchasing a Micromax smartphone, we are indirectly purchasing a Chinese smartphone, a cheap Chinese smartphone, rebranded as an Indian company. So when this happens, we are not doing any good to our country by purchasing, by pretending that we are purchasing an Indian brand, because that brand is purchasing a Chinese smartphone and rebranding it as an Indian. So Micromax does not have its own R&D team, which is the reason why Micromax has completely gone out of the smartphone league. I really don't have the numbers. How much market share does it have? It is less than 1 or 2%, because it is not selling as good as it was in 2014 when it was the largest smartphone manufacturer in India. And the reason is pretty straight. The after sales services were worst. It were pathetic. There was no software updates. There was no sales and support after you purchase their smartphone. And the reason is pretty straight. If you purchase a Chinese smartphone and you sell it in India, you don't have the you don't have the what to say, the solution to look out for replacing the parts or fixing the problems within the smartphone, because that smartphone was made in China. The parts are made in China. The parts are not available in India. So you don't have any other alternative than replacing the smartphone in case it breaks down. So that was the problem with Micromax. That's why they were offering the worst after sales service. The same can be said for other companies as well. However, if you look at Lava and Zolo, they are still doing good in terms of smartphone market, and they do not purchase smartphones from China and rebrand it and sell it in India. They make their own smartphones. They have their own R&D department. So we can look into these companies if we are to purchase a smartphone made out of an Indian manufacturer. Otherwise, we have other two alternatives as Samsung and Asus. So here I have written, the title is Let's Turn Local, but I have written smartphones in the bracket Chinese and smartphones in the bracket non-Chinese. The reason is, guys, let's face it, even though we want to purchase local Indian made products, Indian companies do not have an alternative or a solution or a replacement to everything that China has to offer within India, right? And and the smartphone company is one, smartphone market or smartphone sector is one big area where Indian companies. Uh, can I request whoever is speaking to please mute your microphone? Whose mic is on? NCP, I'm muting you. NCP, could you mute yourself, please? Okay. All right. So as I was saying, India. NCP, if you could mute yourself, it would be great. Your voice is coming.
Shri, can you mute him?
Actually, I'm not able to mute him. I don't know for some reason. Probably his connection is weak. Okay, all right. So as I was saying, Indian companies does not have an alternative or replacement to everything that China has. And in terms of smartphones, which is a big sector in India, which is a big market space, Indian companies are not really providing the kind of solution that an average Indian user needs. So in this case, what we can do is we can go for Samsung or Asus, a South Korean and a Taiwanese company, till the time we don't have a concrete replacement of these two companies, right? So we are going to boycott these companies nonetheless. For out of the available options, we are going to go after Samsung and Asus. I'm sorry. Yeah. Samsung and Asus, which is Samsung is the South Korean company and Asus is a Taiwanese company. And Samsung also has most of its assembly units in India. So if you purchase a Samsung smartphone, you can look at the Made in India label on the back, and that is because Samsung has its manufacturing hub set up in India. So this is just a temporary solution. As long as we don't have a permanent solution, permanent smartphone manufacturer based out of India providing as good a solution as these two companies do, or these five Chinese companies do. Till the time we have to stick with Samsung or Asus, and we need to keep an eye on Zolo because they are going to launch a new segment in their smartphone sector this particular year. An announcement is coming up, and if that happens, and if they get a boost from the government, then we can start seeing Zolo manufacturing some good quality smartphones that can replace Samsung and Asus too. So till the time we don't have a platform, we have to stick with Samsung or Asus. And these two companies have really good smartphones under 15K 20K price segment if that is your budget, and you can go for them without having any second thoughts. Asus is, I guess, one of the most underrated companies because they don't, they don't spend a lot in endorsing their products. They don't spend a lot in advertisements and promoting their stuff. That's why their products go under noticed by a lot of people. But their solution, their smartphones are a lot better than any other smartphones in this price segment. So moving on to the other areas, we have got household goods, and the list is long, so I just put up products which are used in the mainstream. Uh, Toothpaste is one such thing. So if you have Pepsodent or Colgate, you can go after a local Indian alternative. You can use Dabur or Bahul. If you're using Reen or Surf Excel, Daag Achhe Hain. You can use Ujala or Hadi, completely Indian products. If you're using Wildstone or Dermicool as either powder or deodorants, Wildstone is mostly used as a deodorant. You can use Synthol, which is an Indian product. If you're using Nivea or Fair and Lovely as a cream for cosmetics, you can use Vico or Patanjali. If you're using Lifebuoy or Dettol as hand wash or cleaning solutions, you can use Patanjali or Santur, which are again Indian. Now, Patanjali has got a solution to everything, but there is one problem with Patanjali is they've got a halal category as well. I don't really understand that this deliberate attempt to sell their products in the Middle East, basically in Saudi Arabia and Dubai, where they have their store and brand open. To do that, they need halal certification. That's why Patanjali has halal certification, and that is one thing which bothers me a lot. But nonetheless, if we are talking about the Indian Patanjali, where the distribution happens primarily in India, the manufacturing happens primarily in India, that is non-halal. The distribution and the manufacturing which happens for the Middle East countries, that is halal. So you can go for Patanjali as well. And talking about the miscellaneous things, for engine oil, if you are using Castrol, you can use Reliable, which is an Indian brand. If you are using Suzuki or Honda as your bike, you can go for TVS, Hero, or Royal Enfield, which are Indian companies. And when it comes to social media, I guess this is something which will take a long time for people to completely migrate from WhatsApp to Hike, which is an Indian application. I have been using Hike for the last 5 6 years, and I feel it is a better application than WhatsApp in every possible way. But the only reason I'm sticking with WhatsApp is because the official groups that we have, let's say my company group, my organization group, is based on WhatsApp. So that's the only reason we're sticking with WhatsApp. Otherwise, we would have migrated to Hype long back. Nonetheless, WhatsApp does not have any tie-ups or any communist party members of China in the leadership position. So till the time we have an environment where people can migrate to Hive easily, we can continue using WhatsApp. But once we have the platform and the readiness to move to Hive, I guess we all should start using an Indian app end to end. Watch out for the wolves in the dark. Since we are moving on towards local, since we are moving on towards using Indian products, it is also necessary for us to understand that there are Indian products which are contributing to jihad, which are contributing to terrorism, which are funding jihad in one way or the other. And it is through halal certification or halal logo. And Himalaya is a company which mostly specializes in cosmetic products. You might have seen Himalayan products in as in face wash, solutions, hand solutions, and other cosmetic areas. So Himalaya is run by two Muslim entrepreneurs, Shanaz Hussain and Miraj Manal, who do not display the halal logo up front, but their company is halal certified by default. So if you purchase any Himalaya product, you are indirectly contributing to economic jihad. Then the other company is Arshveda. I mean, if you look at these companies' website, you would be baffled. Like they have used Sanskrit slokas, they have shown Shiva's, Lord Shiva's statue. But then again, it's a Kerala-based cosmetics company which uses halal branding, which uses halal logo to sell to Muslim customers. So again, if you purchase these cosmetic products from this company, you are contributing to halal and economic jihad as well. And Ashirvad, no guessing, we had covered this in our previous halal topic. Ashirvad company sells atta, which is, of course, which has got that halal branding over there. So this is the website of Arshveda, the cosmetic company based out of Kerala, which I showed you. And these are the certifications they have. And you can see if I could zoom in. Can I zoom in? I don't think I can zoom in here. Okay, I will just annotate this so that it is visible. So if you can see this, it is the Halal Trust of India website, right? So they have got FSSI, which is the food certification, which is the organization which permits or is which allows permissible food to be distributed in the market. So I've got this, and they've got the Halal Trust of India logo as well. And this, even though these are Indian products which are completely manufactured and sold in India, which have got their end-to-end production in India, but since they are using halal, which only mentions that the link or the chain is done by Muslims end to end, which of course wouldn't have had a problem had it not been contributed to economic jihad or for funding terrorist organizations or for providing attorneys and lawyers for Muslims accused of criminal activities. So what will happen if we go for local? In the previous slides, I mentioned about the countries, US, UK based countries who want to outsource to India. If we go for local, it will force the US based companies to bring in more FDIs to India. The foreign direct investments which was coming to China will come to India if we focus on local Indian made products. If you are updated with the news, Amazon recently invested $1 billion in India. So Amazon has set up its warehouse in India, where within India they will sell those products. So whatever products were sold or imported from outside, they will be manufactured straight away within their manufacturing hubs set up by Amazon in India. And the best part is the local products, Indian made products, will be sold by Amazon in Europe and US, exported from India. So Amazon will facilitate this exportation from India to US and Europe, and that is why Amazon invested $1 billion. Like I said, it will force the foreign companies to set up their manufacturing hubs in India. iPhone, Apple sales increased in the 2019 quarter four. iPhones, despite being so expensive, were sold at a larger magnitude. That is primarily because now iPhones are made in India. If you have an iPhone yourself, or if any one of your friend has, post 2018, you can see that the iPhones have "Made in India" label written on their backs, and that is because Apple set up their manufacturing hub in India. So what it does, it increases employment, right? It increases manpower. So all the manpower which is being used to produce Apple smartphones are now belonging to Indians, which was previously Chinese, now belong to Indians. So it improves jobs, it improves the economy, it improves the GDP directly firsthand, and it brings future investments in India. So this is the end result, and this is what is going to happen if we go local. This is the best opportunity that we have to replace China end to end. What China did back in 2000, the opportunity China was able to grab because of the communist regime in 2000, in the early 2000, because of the global economic boom. It is now our opportunity and our duty to facilitate the same in making India the superpower in terms of manufacturing, export, and employment, and the other factors you can consider in terms of development growth. So, like I said, I will mention the sources at the end. So, the first part where I talked about the amount of Indians in America who are contributing to the economy of the US, who are growing the economy of the US, I got it from Indians in America, a book by Nirvikar Singh. So, when he wrote the book, it was 2017. So, the population was 1%. Now, the population in the Indians population in America is close to 2%. So that's why I updated the number. And then when I talked about the outsourcing, how many US, UK based companies want to outsource to India or have already outsourced to India, I got the data from these two websites, news.ucsc.edu, www.outsourcetoindia.com. And then the reasons why Indians are so good, so preferred by the foreign companies, I got that from backofficepro.com, white paper on outsourcing to India. And then the major three factors I wrote why foreign direct investment of $130 is reserved by China. I got that from Investopedia, factors that drive investment in China. The privacy policy of TikTok, I got it from TikTok website. And the Indian smartphone market share, I got it from counterpointresearch.com. So guys, we are done with